Picture this. It's Sunday morning. You've just survived a week that would break most people. 60 hours on the clock. Stress you didn't ask for. Problems you didn't create. Bills you paid. Fires you put out. You finally sit down. You turn on the game. You crack a beer. Your shoulders drop for the first time in 7 days. And within 5 minutes, it happens. The sigh, the look, the tone that turns peace into a provocation. Must be nice to relax while I'm doing everything. You weren't even resting long enough for your nervous system to catch up, before your rest became a crime. Now listen carefully. This isn't about women as a whole. This is about a specific type of partner, a specific pattern, and a specific dynamic that a lot of men live inside without realizing what it's doing to them. Because some partners genuinely cannot tolerate a man at peace. Not because there's truly an emergency. Not because the house is on fire. Not because you're failing, but because your calm triggers something deeper. Something emotional and primal that has nothing to do with fairness and everything to do with control, anxiety, and how they've been conditioned to see men. The irritation isn't logical, it's visceral. You sleep in on Saturday after overtime all week, and suddenly she's accidentally banging pots in the kitchen. You watch YouTube for 20 minutes, and now there are 17 urgent tasks that need to be handled right now. You take a nap, and she finds a reason to vacuum directly outside the bedroom door. You sit down, and she suddenly remembers a project that didn't exist 5 minutes ago. It's not about what needs doing. It's about you not doing. And if you've lived this, you know exactly how it feels. The moment you stop moving, the relationship starts shaking you until you move again. I had a man tell me his wife could time his rest like a stopwatch. If he sat down longer than 15 minutes, the requests would start. Trash that could wait. Groceries that weren't urgent. Can you just? Projects that magically appeared the moment he looked comfortable. He worked construction, hard labor, day after day. She worked part-time retail, but somehow his 30 minutes on the couch was framed as laziness, selfishness, weakness, like rest was a moral failure. And then come the comments that don't sound like requests. They sound like character attacks. Real men don't need naps. My ex never sat around like this. I guess you're too tired to be a man today. Those aren't random insults. They're targeted. They hit the exact insecurities society trains men to carry. Your value is your output. Your worth is your usefulness. Your masculinity is your productivity. So when you rest, you don't just become a man on a couch. You become a man violating the role you were assigned. And some partners can't handle that. Not because they hate you, but because they've built their sense of safety on a specific image of you. Always on. Always producing. Always carrying the weight. When you power down, it feels like the foundation moves. Why your peace triggers some partners. There are a few reasons this happens, and most of them have nothing to do with the dishes. 1. Anxiety hates stillness. Some people are internally restless. They don't know how to relax. Their nervous system is addicted to motion. Tasks, errands, productivity, constant activity. Stillness forces them to feel what they avoid. Boredom, emptiness, dissatisfaction, fear, resentment. So when you rest, it mirrors their inability to be still. Your calm feels like judgment. Like you're saying, without words, you don't need to be running. And instead of facing that, they try to pull you into their pace. 2. Control hides behind productivity. A busy man is easier to manage. He's predictable. He's occupied. He has less time to think and less energy to challenge the status quo. A rested man is dangerous, not because he becomes evil, but because he becomes clear. Rested men think, they reflect, they question, they notice patterns, they realize what they've been tolerating. They start asking, is this sustainable? Is this fair? Is this love? Or am I being used? Some partners don't want you exhausted because they hate you. They want you exhausted because exhausted men don't leave. Exhausted men don't renegotiate the dynamic. Exhausted men don't demand respect. Exhausted men don't rebuild their lives. They cope, they comply, they survive. 3. Some people confuse male suffering with male love. This is one of the ugliest relationship beliefs in modern culture. If he's not suffering, he's not committed. In that mindset, your exhaustion becomes proof. The more depleted you are, the more he must care. Rest becomes betrayal because sacrifice equals love in their equation. So when you relax, you aren't just resting, you're not loving her enough. That's how twisted it gets. 4. They don't see you as a person. They see you as a role. This is the core issue. You're not a man with hobbies, a nervous system, and a need for recovery. You're the provider, the fixer, the engine, the shield. And engines aren't supposed to stop. Shields aren't supposed to rest. Machines aren't supposed to need care. So when you become human, tired, quiet, peaceful, it triggers irritation because it reminds them you are not an unlimited resource. The selective equality trap. Here's where the equality talk collapses. Some of the loudest people about breaking gender roles get uncomfortable when men step into things that are coded as soft. You join a yoga class and it's weird. You enjoy a spa day and it's suspicious. You want to sleep in and have brunch and suddenly it's, what kind of man does that? The equality they want is often selective. Share the burdens, but don't claim the benefits. Take on more responsibility, but don't take on more freedom. Carry more weight, but don't reduce your output. In some minds, rest and self-care are treated like female territory, something women deserve after their emotional labor. But men are expected to function like production units, always building, always grinding, always generating. So when a man rests, it can feel like he's trespassing on a privilege they believe belongs to them. And if you think that sounds dramatic, watch what happens in real life. Her book club is essential connection. Your poker night is avoiding the family. Her spa day is self-care. Your fishing trip is abandonment. Her scrolling is decompression. Your video game is addiction. Her 3-hour phone call is maintaining relationships. Your Sunday golf is immature and selfish. Same time, same concept, different judgment, because your rest threatens and hers is justified. The hidden motive regulating your time. Here's a test that reveals everything. Ask your partner this hypothetical question. If I won the lottery tomorrow and never had to work again, would you be happy if I spent my days relaxing, training, reading, traveling, and enjoying life? A lot of men assume the answer will be yes. No more stress, no more pressure, right? Watch the reaction. Some partners won't be relieved. They'll be disturbed. You can't just do nothing. What about goals? What about purpose? That's lazy. That's not what a man does. And that moment tells you the truth. The money was never the point. Your freedom is. Because a man with time is a man with options. A man with time can develop interests, build friendships, take care of his health, pursue passions, create a life that doesn't revolve around the relationship. And for a partner who needs to be the center of your world, your independence feels like a threat. Some partners don't want you successful if success leads to autonomy. They want success that stays directed through them. Make money for us? Good. Make money to buy the boat you always wanted. Selfish. Build a future that gives you early retirement and peace. Threatening. Have enough resources to stop being exhausted. Dangerous. They want the resources, but they want the leash attached. The sweet spot some partners want you stuck in. There's a zone some men get trapped in, what I call the sweet spot. Successful, but not independent. Strong, but not self-directed. Capable, but not autonomous. Useful, but not free. Powerful enough to provide, not powerful enough to walk away. The moment you drift outside that zone, either by becoming too ambitious or too relaxed, anxiety kicks in. Pressure increases. Criticism grows. The relationship starts trying to pull you back into the role. That's not love. That's management. How this turns men into prisoners of guilt. Here's the most dangerous part. Eventually, she doesn't even have to say anything. You start policing yourself. You can't sit down without feeling lazy. You can't enjoy a hobby without feeling selfish. You can't take a nap without hearing an invisible accusation. You can't relax without anxiety. That's not just a relationship issue. That's psychological conditioning. You become your own warden. And the cost is brutal. Men already carry stress differently. Many men are trained to swallow discomfort, convert it into work, and call it responsibility. But there's a limit. Without recovery, the body collects the debt. High blood pressure, sleep issues, irritability, burnout, heart strain, depression disguised as numbness. Some partners respond to male exhaustion with concern. Some respond with contempt. A man once told me he broke his leg at work, and the first thing his wife said wasn't, "Are you okay?" It was, "How long until you can work again?" That's not a spouse responding to a person. That's a supervisor responding to a machine. The chaos pattern, how rest gets sabotaged. If you're paying attention, you'll notice a pattern. Your peace doesn't just get interrupted, it gets attacked with timing. Friday night, you think you'll rest. Saturday morning, there's a list. Sunday afternoon, an emergency. By Monday, you're more exhausted than you were on Friday. The weekend becomes unpaid labor. Your job never ends. It just changes locations. And if you confront it, there's often a clean, manipulative response. How can you relax when there's so much to do? But notice, there will always be something to do. Because something to do becomes the weapon. A moving target. A justification that never runs out. Some partners even manufacture drama during your downtime. Not consciously like a cartoon villain, more like a nervous system that can't tolerate peace. Every quiet moment becomes conflict. Every restful day becomes tension. Every hobby becomes a fight because chaos is control. If you're always putting out fires, you never have time to ask who's lighting matches. The real issue isn't chores, it's boundaries. Now, let's be honest, sometimes a man resting is just avoidance. Sometimes he's escaping responsibility. Sometimes the burden is unfair. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the man who does his part, carries weight, pays bills, shows up, handles problems, yet still gets punished for recovery. The man who can't breathe without being audited. In a healthy relationship, rest is respected because rest is strategic. A rested man is more patient, more present, more emotionally stable, more creative, more sexually alive, more resilient, more productive long term. A partner who truly values you doesn't see your rest as stolen time. They see it as investment. But low quality partners view your rest as time taken away from them. In their mind, every minute you're not serving them is a minute you're failing. That's why they moralize it. A good man would be fixing the house. A caring husband would spend his free time with family. A responsible father would work extra hours. Notice how rest is never framed as moral. You're either working or you're failing. That's how exploitation talks. The retirement fear says everything. Want another truth test? Mention early retirement. Not, I'm quitting tomorrow. Just, I'd like to retire earlier if I can. I want time. Watch the reaction. In healthy relationships, that idea brings relief and excitement. In unhealthy ones, it brings panic because your time is not supposed to belong to you. Your time is supposed to be converted into output. When men hear, you can't just do nothing, what they're really hearing is, you can't just be free. What a high quality partner does differently, a high quality woman doesn't need you exhausted to feel secure. She wants you healthy. She understands that masculine strength isn't endless grinding. It's disciplined sustainability. She respects that your nervous system needs downtime. She protects your recovery because she understands what she gets when you're rested. A man who shows up with energy instead of resentment. She doesn't compete with your hobbies. She supports them. She doesn't mock your rest. She makes space for it. She doesn't sabotage your peace. She contributes to it. And yes, those women exist. They're just rare because modern culture often rewards entitlement more than maturity. What men need to do, stop negotiating your humanity. If you take one thing from this, let it be this. Your rest is not a favor you ask for. It is a requirement you protect. And if your partner can't tolerate that, you're not dealing with love. You're dealing with dependence on your depletion. So here's the boundary language that changes everything. I'm resting now. We can handle that later. I'm taking Sunday morning for recovery. I'll be available after. I'm not apologizing for sleeping. I needed it. My hobbies are part of my health. I'm keeping them. I'm not arguing about my right to recover. This isn't cruelty. This is survival, because a man who never rests eventually becomes one of three things: sick, bitter, or gone. And a partner who truly loves you would never want any of those outcomes. The simplest relationship test. Here's the cleanest test you can run. When you rest, does your partner protect it or punish it? Do they create room for your recovery or fill every quiet moment with demands? Do they value your well-being or only your output? That answer tells you whether you're in a partnership or an extraction agreement. Because A, partner who loves you wants you alive, healthy, and clear. A partner who uses you wants you exhausted, compliant, and useful. And once you see that difference, you can't unsee it. The ending men need to hear men are starting to wake up. They're choosing work-life balance over endless overtime. They're prioritizing health over status. They're selecting peace over performance. They're walking away from relationships that treat them like machines. And some people are calling it a crisis. It's not a crisis. It's consciousness. Men aren't becoming lazy. They're becoming aware. They're realizing the hamster wheel doesn't love them back. The sacrifice isn't always appreciated. The exhaustion is not a badge of honor. It's a slow death. So the shame ends now. No more guilt about that Sunday nap. No more apologizing for hobbies. No more justifying recovery like it's a sin. No more treating rest like weakness. Rest is wisdom. Rest is strategy. Rest is what keeps you strong enough to build a life you actually want, without dying early just to prove you were useful. And if a partner cannot respect your rest, they are telling you exactly how they see you, not as a man, as a resource. So choose accordingly. I want to hear from you. What happens when you try to rest? What does your partner do when you sit down, take a nap, or take time for a hobby? Drop your story in the comments. Men need to hear they're not crazy for needing recovery. They're human, and your peace matters.